Welcome back to the Best of Yvonne podcast. I'm your host, Yvonne Delos, and today we are on season 2, episode 18, where I have a very special guest I'm so excited to introduce. Amy Melchior, a longtime friend and very seasoned injector, business owner, and just a really, really powerful leader in the industry. And I will tell you, this podcast is for all women, whether you're in business or not, whether you're in medical aesthetics or not, but we are here to empower, inspire, and educate you. Today's topic is building community. We really want to talk about fostering genuine relationships. And I can't help but think, what better person than Amy herself to dive in and share with us all the things in building a community and really building relationships that I believe have really led her to where she's at today. She's extremely successful. And welcome, Amy. Welcome to the Best of Yvonne podcast.
Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk about this topic because it truly is a passion of mine.
Well, I'm excited to have you, and I'm excited for our listeners to learn from you. So I want to take them back really, really quick to how you and I met, which I want to say was about 7 years ago.
Yeah, 2018.
Okay. So Amy
March.
was one of my first students as a trainer for another company. And she and I just hit it off really right in our very first training together. But this is what I want to really, really highlight right here, was that Amy went above and beyond. Out of all of the students in my course that day, she's the only one that reached out and built a relationship with me. And here we are years later and have a beautiful friendship, and we support one another. And so I want to hear your side of the story, Amy, and what key takeaways you can share with the community on how to build these long-lasting relationships, how to nurture them, and then build a community off of that.
Right. Well, I feel like you opened the door for that, which is why it's been so fun seeing your business grow and your success. Because when I first met you, I was brand new to aesthetics. I had just signed up for a weekend course, like a lot of us do, and were interested in it. Went into this room where I had a lot of people I didn't know, a lot of other medical providers, and you came in very professional, as an expert in my eyes in this field. And when the course was over, you extended to everyone, if you have any questions, here's my number. I believe you gave us your personal cell phone number, which of course you didn't have to do because you were, teaching for another company. There was no obligation on your part to do that. Yet you said, if you have, anything you need to know, send me a text. I'll help you out. I'll try to connect you with people. And I was intimidated, to be honest, because I was brand new to this field. You had been injecting for years. You're teaching. And I did hesitate for a little while to reach out. It was when I realized that I had no community in this area, as I was building my business very slowly at first, people would ask me questions. Can you inject the temples? I have this scar. Can you inject? And I just had nowhere to turn to. And I remember you being so friendly and so open. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to reach out and see if she has some time to answer some of my questions. And of course, right away, you replied and gave me support and encouragement and just really opened the door to a friendship and just being willing to take the time when you weren't getting any kickback from any of that. And that's really just what started everything. So, I just want to thank you for being a leader from the very beginning of building community and really breaking down the walls that happen between women sometimes, where we feel the pressure to maintain a certain front or field of like, I'm so successful, like I don't, I'm so busy, I don't have time just to talk to people I don't know, or whatever the pressure is that sometimes women feel. You just had none of that, and really I'm so appreciative for your role model and setting the example in that way.
Oh, well, thank you. And I mean, you and I instantly became friends, where I even remember spending a night at your house.
Yes, yes.
And we went trail running and did all that. So we did build a beautiful friendship outside of injecting, outside of aesthetics. But I do have to say, I'm super proud of you because you did take that initiative where so many people don't. And I'm sure your training program and everything that you offer, you probably do something very similar where maybe there's an area that you didn't get. And so you're like, well, I'll be the one to step up and provide that and do better. And I
Yeah.
really hope that all of my students really, step up and do better from what they've learned. Because I know I've tried to do better. And so that's why Medical Aesthetic Art Institute exists truly, is because of you and several others where you were like, why don't you just do your own thing? Because I did feel a responsibility to you and all the other students in the course, that I felt responsible setting, training you and then setting you out to
Yeah.
go out on your own.
Right.
And I just knew there was so many things in that training that was lacking, which definitely was a mentor. And I've continued to mentor my students, and I'm sure you do the same thing. So tell me, what, out of all these years, now that you've grown your own successful practice, you are training, you're now, a key opinion leader, speaker, like you're a center of excellence for MERS, like I'm so blown away at how fast you've grown in the industry. So tell me, what are some of those key steps that you've taken to put yourself in that position, to really be hungry to grow to the top? Like, what advice would you give to somebody else that maybe have been the Amy on day one of training that you were in my course?
I think the number one thing is the hustle. If you want something, you can have it. And I know that you support that and really encourage women in that and their visions and dreams. It really just is working so hard. And it's not just the first year. Scott and I are still doing the hustle. I think yesterday we saw 27 people, and we had our main front desk receptionist is on vacation. And so, handling it with our team, we have an amazing team and support. But what I try to tell these young nurses, or seasoned nurses, but young in aesthetics, is that we're still doing the hustle. Everything I'm teaching you, we are still doing. You do everything you can to have excellent results and great follow up, and be different than the others. How can you set yourself apart? How can I set myself apart from other med spas, other injectors, and be genuine and real? And I wish there was just one thing. Here's just one thing you need to do and you'll be successful. But it's really just working hard and being passionate and never losing sight that it's the clients, the patients who bring the success. It has, of course, my skill and my education, but if they stop coming, there's no business, regardless of the experience and the products that I have. So I think it's the passion and the willingness to work really hard.
Yes. And I do see you and your husband working side by side, which, again, I admire when a woman can have her partner in the business, because it's not always easy to do, but you
Right.
guys make such a great team. And is one of your daughters working with you as well, doing your social media or helping in the business?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
So at one point, Caitlin, who's 20, she had
Okay.
done a little bit, but no, we have a separate team. Yeah.
Okay. So how have you been able to expand from being an injector in your community to actually building a community? Because I was at a conference, I was speaking for Perlinium in La Jolla about 6 months ago. And it was a student from one of our trainings. I think she was in the very first training you and I did together. And she was just so blown away at your success and how far you have come, because I think she didn't take it and run with it like you did. And
Right.
so she was just so blown away at how you have progressed so rapidly. I know to you, it probably doesn't feel that fast, but to her, she was so impressed and so blown away.
Yeah.
So, how have you been able to get into the community and build community? Certain areas I travel to, I find it challenging because energetically, I think every community is different. Like my
Sure.
local community
Yeah.
here, they're not as receptive to doing community events together, where my community in Salt Lake, we do them regularly and they look forward to them. So how have you been able to break into the community of Portland and bring injectors together? Because I saw in your training, you have a pretty large training, with MERS being a center of excellence. Like, how do you get them to come and feel comfortable and feel welcome without the drama and without the competition?
I'm very real. I share all of my mistakes. I come into every group that I bring together saying, I'm going to share every mistake I've ever made with you so that when you make them, you won't feel like you're a failure, because there are certain mistakes every single injector is going to make. And I've made a lot of them already. And so I feel like when I start every meeting or even private training, saying, just really normalizing how tough it is to get into a field that I think at times we look from the outside thinking it's very simple, like, oh, what? You're going to leave cardiology and go to Botox, you're going to do injections, like almost like, well, that's an
Yeah.
elementary part. And yeah, it's quite challenging. So I know that in my life, when I felt less than, it just intimidates me. I've worked all over the country. I've been a nurse for so many years, graduated in 1998. So it's been many, many moons that I've worked as a nurse in many different fields. And there's been a lot of times I've been very intimidated. And then what happens? I don't ask questions. I stay in my corner. I don't learn as much. And those providers who I've learned the most from are just easygoing. They don't make you feel like, you're so far from them in education. If you make a mistake, it's fine. Everyone makes this mistake. And then you can really learn. And that has been my goal from the beginning of just normalizing the chance. It doesn't matter if you've been an ICU nurse for 20 years, you haven't injected filler, you haven't worked with Sculptra, you haven't dealt with different neurotoxins. It's a completely different field. And so trying to just normalize and laugh through things that are uncomfortable, or all the things, unhappy patients, things that go wrong, like just being really transparent opens up communication right away. And I think that's the key to building community and helping people become better injectors. Because let's be honest, the more seasoned and expert injectors there are, the better aesthetics is for everybody. The better the reputation it has, the better, everyone's business grows. So
Yeah,
helps us
I
all.
I 100% agree with that. So, what are some of the things you do to nurture your community? So, they've come
Yeah.
in, they've done a training with you, they're out on their own. Like, how do you stay connected? How do you nurture them? Like,
Yeah,
what
that's a great
works for
question.
you?
Yes, that is a great question, Yvonne, because people will come, and I'm sure you have this too, where someone might come up and talk to you and you don't even remember training them. There are so many people that come and go, and your business is busy, and you're a mom and all the different things going on. And so and that I was challenged with that too. How do I keep track of these people? And I can't answer every question. I want to, but I can't always answer every question. You'll get a question. How what should I do to get into aesthetics? It's like, oh my goodness, I could talk to you for 2 hours on this. So what I started doing is making private groups on social media. And I started that in 2020, and then realized, oh, this is brilliant because I can answer one question and everybody reads it. Or if I'm busy for a couple of days, it might be that another nurse answers it. And so what I started doing is every year starting a new group, because it seemed like, as humans, we get really comfortable with people, and then we get a little bit overwhelmed once the numbers get too big, and then people start shutting down again. So I realized what I'm going to do is everyone I train in each year will have their own group. And so 2020 has a group, 2021 has a group, and so forth and so on. Now we have some years, our 2023 group has like 60 businesses in them. That one's a lot. That one is probably our largest, but everyone is great friends. They've broken off to do trips together, trainings together. And that way, everyone who's busy, right? You know this, a lot of injectors are still working in the hospital. They are in probably a long-term relationship. They're probably a parent, whether to children or fur babies, lots of things going on. So there's very little time outside of doing a training, running your own business, trying to manage another job you have to get together. But when you're on social media, it's very interesting because, you can have a minute here or there laying in bed, cooking dinner, doing something where you can see other messages coming through, send an opinion, and it just opens up that friendship and relationship, especially once one or two people is vulnerable. It's vulnerability that opens people up. It's so interesting. Our last group, 2024, it took a little bit to get going and it was just crickets. And I was talking to Scott about this, like, how do I get this going? So finally, I started taking screenshots of my 2023 group that's just a whole host of characters. And we have so much fun together. And I started taking screenshots and passing it over and saying, hey, you guys, this is okay to be open. Look at these seasoned injectors who look at this mistake, or someone who's venting about a frustrating client she had. This is what you can do. And then I thought, you know what, I need to kick this up a little bit more. So, I'd have something where I'd dissolve filler and I'd be like, look what I had to do today. Can you believe this happened? Or, what do you think I did in this situation? Or look at this person who came back and follow up. Her eyebrow is all wonky. What do you think I did wrong here? And then finally, little by little, people started talking. And then by the closeout of the year, it was like, okay, they're starting to get together, build some friendships. So I think being vulnerable is the number one thing, and having a private space. So this is what I would say to other injectors out there who want to build community and take leadership. Make a private group and then maintain control of that private group. So I will say I am a little controlling of it. There are other injectors in the area who have asked to join, who I haven't allowed. And that might seem very contraindicated to what I'm saying about everyone's invited. Here's my only take on that. You only get to be part of a group if I've spent private one-on-one time with you or you've been in a group training. And here's why. I know the temptation for people to either be intimidated or for some reason want to be intimidating.
Yes.
Maybe to set themselves apart or make people think they're better than. So because of that, I just don't let anybody in the group who I haven't been able to set the example with. And that's just my thing, right, wrong, or indifferent. I need to have that chance to set the example of we help each other. If you run out of a product, I have it. By all means, come and get it. You can pay me for it later. We're gonna help each other out so that as they come into the group, I have control of already setting that personality, that expectation of how we're going to treat each other. And then outside of that, if I, for like MERS, for example, they are more than welcome to invite whoever they want. And I do the best I can in the initial time while we're, having a bite to eat, to say, this is what I've done. This is what I love. I want you guys to share the challenges you're having. So we set the training as we're going to share challenges rather than sharing how good we've done in our business.
I
If that
love
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, I love that. And I align with you on being mindful of who's in the community. And I'm sure you can see the difference between your 2023 group and 2024. Energetically, it's a completely different energy. And so we, as the leader of the group, it's our responsibility to be mindful of that and who's in the group and how to navigate those different personalities and energies. So I agree with you 100%. I've actually really done away with advanced training because I don't know where they started, what they know, what they don't know. And then I was always retraining them. And I'm like, this is not really benefiting my time or your money for me to have to go back and teach you 101. And so I've kind of just gotten to the point where if you've done a beginning training with me, I will do your advanced, but I had to get selective because I have so many students. And my love is still the new injectors, like brand new getting into the industry, because I want to welcome them into a loving community that's going to welcome them. And I had to get to the point too, where I can't let you shadow me in the clinic, or so one, you can't shadow unless you've done a training with me, because I am responsible and loyal to those that have invested in the trainings. And then I've had students, that have reached out to me that want to intern, that were in maybe AMET's program I may have trained 8 years ago. And I'm like, look, I trained for another company. I can't honor to intern you because I need to give that to one of my grads an opportunity. So I've had to come up with some hard rules too
You
that
have
somebody
to.
may be like, well, you say welcome everyone. And I do welcome everyone, but you need to go through the process like everybody else, unfortunately. Um, so what are your
Yeah.
big plans for moving forward? Like, where do you envision taking your clinic? Are you going to have a
Yeah.
multiple location? Are you going to, where do you see taking your community and your business in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question because, Yvonne, I say this all the time. No one knows where aesthetics is going. It has changed so much every year. Every year it changes. And we've seen, and I know you've seen, a massive influx of providers. I went from 2020 starting to build community, doing monthly uh, mentorship, injecting dinners. Let's get together, let's talk, let's have a dinner, let's inject somebody. Thinking, wow, I'm going to be able to know everyone in the Portland area. This is going to be great. We'll do journal reviews. This is going to be amazing. And then within, I feel a blink of an eye, there were like 500 injectors in the area. I just was like, and that's never going to happen. There are, Google Botox near me, and I'm sure for you too, it's never ending.
Yeah.
There's never ending lists of people. So I've had to, okay, recalibrate. Then, let's be honest with everyone's finances. Aesthetics is more of a luxury treatment. And so it's expendable. It takes expendable income, and it can also be expendable if somebody needs finances to remortgage their house with mortgage rates so much higher, gas prices higher, food prices higher, you know, everything is more expensive. And so we've seen, wow, less people coming into this space or reducing what they do, where we're not seeing the prices decrease with the pharmaceutical companies, right? We probably all appreciated a nice little increase from, I think, pretty much every single company going into 2025. And yet we didn't raise our prices because the market just can't handle that, in my opinion. So I look to the future, and Scott and I talk about this all the time. Where is the sex going to be in 5 years? We always say, what's your 5-year plan? Wow, that's hard to do in a market that changes every 6 months.
Yeah.
So I think for us, we're very happy where we are. We're very happy being involved. We love the hands-on. I do love community. I love teaching. I love helping build confidence in other providers. But I love, my number one love is injecting. And there's so much work to managing a business, as you know. You just blow my mind how you've written a book and you have a podcast and you inject and you travel and you teach and you're a mother. Like, how do you do all of this, right? So I think for me, it's enough for us to have this space and allow some time to be involved in the community. But also what Scott and I are trying to work on is a little more work-life balance. We're not good in that. We work all the time. So trying to figure out how to balance that. But what we did start in 2024 was Patreon, because I started feeling so stretched, and I love being the person that's willing to share my mistakes, willing to just get down to, what do you really need for starting a business? Where are you going to waste your money? Buy this, not that, And so how do I do this? And so we thought, you know what? Let's start a Patreon. And this is, as you know, podcasts, Patreons, it's not a revenue thing.
Yeah, right.
It's just
Not yet.
it's just a give back. And so, we have a wonderful social media professional, Megan, who helped us get set up for this. And she did an amazing job. Again, who knew Patreon was kind of tricky to figure out? She just put hours into figuring it out and doing videos. And so we just spent a year of trying to just be very, very basic, very simple. Here's what you need. And then also doing some advanced injections, doing some trials between different products. We've got, the PRF and the Easy Gel and PDRN and all these things coming out. And so that's kind of where we're moving our mentoring space into Patreon, where I can share and mentor just as if I was talking one on one, but it's on a recording. So
Yeah.
really anyone can watch it. But because there's little cost to it, not much, it allows me to again supervise who's watching things, not worry about, being judged by community who doesn't know aesthetics, and also by reps who, of course, may be a little biased on their products, and just allow myself to continue sharing that knowledge while my free time to mentor is getting less and less. So
And
I think, going forward, just providing the best care that we can to our patients, expanding into hormones and, of course, weight loss and also aesthetics, and then keeping that Patreon for just sharing everything I'm learning as the years go on and as I continue to learn and continue to make mistakes and continue to share those and have that space to keep that open. And then of course, doing dinners maybe quarterly instead of monthly has
yeah.
been a little bit more manageable.
Good. I love that for you. And it is
Yeah.
so easy when you love what you do so much to get so caught up in it and to spread yourself so thin that your personal
Yes.
life does get affected. It does impact. And I mean, it's probably harder for you because your husband is so involved in your business that
Right.
you're
We work
probably
all the time.
always, yeah. And so it's kind of like, okay, is this truly filling our cup up? Is this truly making us happy? Because I always say how your life feels is more important than how it looks. And I stress the importance of that
True.
quote so much because people do get on social media and they're like, oh, your life looks so glamorous. I'm like, no, my life, I love every bit of my life. And it's a choice, regardless of what the material things I have. It's how I live it. I intentionally live every minute of my day because
Yes.
I'm doing all the things I love to do. And so, but, I have stepped away from the chair side. I'm not in the clinic, but I may see 10 patients a month because I've shifted. And I talked to you about this where I was
Yeah.
getting burnt out, a few years
Yeah.
ago. And I'm like, I have my exit strategy in place and I still do to this day. I mean, the book and the
Yeah.
podcast, you can see that I'm making my shift. And so my my whole focus and my whole goal in my life, the remainder of my life, is how can I impact and inspire and help other women create a life by their design, a life that they love every single day, regardless of any outside circumstance.
Yeah.
And so it's me. I want this podcast to really help other women share their stories so our sisters
Yeah.
can see that, oh, if Amy can do it, I can do it. And oh, I want to be like Amy. I'm going to just follow in her footsteps. I'm going to find a mentor like she found in Yvonne and so this
Right.
is a safe place to build community and share our communities with one another because the people that are on my podcast, we align. It's just who we are because we want to serve, we want to give back, and we want to do what we love to do most. And so I try not to be too heavy in medical aesthetics, but most of the powerful women I associate with are in medical aesthetics. But I want all women listening that you really can create your life by design. And, when I met Amy, she was
Right.
leaving cardiology. She was burnout. She was a single mother, raising her daughters and trying to figure out a new career path where it would provide balance. And then she met her
Yeah.
husband and then he got into the industry. And
Yeah.
now I see the two of them everywhere together. And so it really is about building your life that you love. And this is your journey. And you can't compare your journey to anyone else's journey.
Correct.
And,
Yeah.
I mean, I think you would agree that when you reach back and pull another sister up, help somebody else, like that is so fulfilling in itself. Like that to
Yes.
me is worth more than a paycheck. Is that if I can see that I helped another woman get where she wants to go, like that fuels me so much.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful to have you here, Amy. And I love you and I love seeing all that you're doing. And I am so proud of you and what you've created and all the
Thank
lives
you.
that you're
Likewise.
impacting. Thank you. So we're going to wrap it up. Where can they find you?
So you can find us on Instagram, Medical Rejuvenation. And we have a MedJuve Academy, not as robust for Instagram, just time wise. We try to put up little snippets here and there. I can send you our Patreon link for, new and seasoned injectors just to get the down and dirty about aesthetics and try to cut through all of the static, I guess, just
Yeah,
to get the meat of how to have a successful business, or what's worked for us, because to your point, it's different for every person, but happy to share what's working for us as we continue to work hard and try to provide just the best care we can, have a really great team, and then somehow have that work life balance that is so hard.
it is so hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, you have a beautiful life. You've built a beautiful life for yourself. And I think that's inspiring to so many women. So we will
Yeah.
be sure to post Amy's contact information
Thank
in the
you.
notes. And I am so grateful once again to have you here, Amy, and continue to spread the light and love wherever you go. And I will see you, I'm sure, at a community event or a conference
Yes. Thank
somewhere
you so
soon.
much, Yvonne.
You are
I
so
so
welcome.
appreciate you and adore you, and so thankful for everything you're doing for women and aesthetics. You've just been amazing.
Oh, thanks, Amy. Love you. Have a
Yes.
beautiful
Love you
day.
too. You too. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.